Hi guys, and moments ago on the Warcraft Twitch channel, Ian Hazzikostas and Jesse Cox were discussing the Legion developer update. So they were talking about the alpha, the beta, the features of Legion, and various other topics. And one of the topics they did discuss was legacy servers. So this is a clip from what they had to say, if you didn't catch it. So yeah, enjoy.
Okay, let's move on from our order halls. What other major things should we be talking about? What do you think?
I can't think of any weighty topics. I mean, my mind's just, I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, the internet's been pretty happy so far.
Yeah,
no complaints.
Warcraft positivity, it's everywhere.
It's through the roof right now. Yeah, I don't. There was something I heard about it on like a forum or something about Legacy. I don't know what they're talking about. Is that a big thing?
A little bit.
Oh, go on.
Yes. No. So I think, yeah. Obviously, that was a very heated and passionate topic of discussion, in the past weeks, and heard a lot of great feedback from our fans. I think the overall statement that J. Allen Brack made and posted on the forums, I think, still stands as our position. I know we've talked about, and some of the people behind the servers in question have talked about, upcoming meetings. That's not something that we as developers on the Warcraft team are necessarily directly involved with. I think our focus right now is Legion in particular, and just working to make that as good as it can be. But I completely understand a lot of the broader picture, nostalgia. I mean, I'm a day one World of Warcraft player myself. Like Thanksgiving 2004, coming home, my server being down all day, being upset, going to a different server. And I've been with the game really since beta from day one, and I remember those times. There were a lot of great times. It's been interesting to see a lot of the response to the Pristine servers idea that was floated, sort of pros and cons. And I think one of the big cons that came out of it, one of the big arguments against it, which is completely valid, is like, well, what's the point of having this closed off realm without looking for group, without group finder, without CRZ, if I'm just going to log in, level up to max level in a few days, and then be back to sitting in my garrison? And that's a very good point. And I think it sheds some light on something that I think is just a problem with the game in general right now that I think we can address outside of the context of legacy servers or pristine servers. I think it's just something that can be made better about World of Warcraft, period. And that's just our level up experience through classic zones at low levels. It's pretty broken right now, frankly. It's not really very well tuned, and that's
as in too easy.
It's way too easy, and it's not. It's not even about difficulty. It's about pacing. It's something that, frankly, we've neglected a little bit over the years, and there's been a lot of sort of trickle down effects from balance changes made to the max level game, where we things that used to be talents, we now bake in as passives. We buff abilities. We move things that used to be high-level abilities down to make them available at level 10. And the end result is, like, if you run around, you're basically like, even without heirlooms. Heirlooms are a whole other level of degeneracy. But if you're doing a level 3 quest right now on a new character, make a hunter, make a night elf hunter, go run around Teldrassil. You basically are 1- and 2-shotting things. You're killing things before they can even engage with you. And the amount of time that you're spending fighting versus the amount of time you're spending running around to your next objective is completely out of whack. There's a lot of other areas like that where the pacing of the game just isn't what it should be, and we need to spend more time fixing that up. I think it's actually something we've been looking at, even starting to do via hotfix right now, but want to keep doing going forward. And again, the point isn't to make the game brutally hard. And the reality is, I think vanilla combat times are actually probably a little bit too long in a lot of ways at low levels. We aim for like a 12 to 15 second combat time against a single enemy, and that makes sense at max levels, and that's kind of what we still stick to at max level. But at level 1 or level 5, when you literally just have one button, it's not particularly satisfying gameplay. But combat times of 3 seconds aren't good either. There's a happy medium for us to find and for us to move towards.
So I think it really comes down to that idea that everything about the starting experience was changed in Cataclysm, and then it became very heavily story driven, and each zone led to another, and it was all this overarching story, and it was pushing you along very quickly. Like instead of you're gonna farm boar for half a day and do some crazy stuff. It was, we're gonna keep you moving like this. And I think maybe a lot of people see that as like, well, that's not the experience I want to remember.
Totally, and it's not the experience that the game was, years and years ago, and it's the outgrowth of us trying to solve a problem that we think has now been solved in different ways, and that's ultimately just barriers to entry for a new player that wants to play with their friends or a returning player. And we were realizing increasingly around the time of Cataclysm, around the time of Mist of Pandaria. Let's say you had a friend who played World of Warcraft who had been telling you about how awesome it was, and you finally wanted to give it a shot. And, well, they were a max level established level 85 player, and you were looking at this incredibly daunting, series of things to go through before you could actually play with your friend who'd recommended the game to you. Or if you saw a commercial for the new expansion, it looked cool. Well, what do you have to do to get into it? And over time, we, with every new expansion that came out, and this is a process that started really as early as Burning Crusade, continued on through Wrath, through Cataclysm, we made leveling through the prior expansions a bit faster and a bit faster and a bit faster because we didn't want leveling to be such a barrier to entry.
Yeah, and the inclusion of just like, hey, now you're 90. Or,
Exactly.
Hey, now
Well,
you're 100.
And honestly, the boost solves that problem. If you want to play Warlords of Draenor, you want to play Legion, you buy Legion, you can play Legion. So there isn't this need for us to try to rush people through the level of experience anymore. If you're leveling a character from 1 to 100, we should make that a satisfying, well-paced experience. Again, the goal isn't to go back to the it takes 13 days played and hundreds of hours of you're spending a week in Stranglethorn Vale, but you shouldn't be out leveling zones before you can finish their story. You shouldn't be doing one dungeon and finding that the zone that you were in is no longer relevant to you at all. And so that's something that we're going to continue to talk about in the future. I think there's definitely also potential promise. We need to see how it plays out in Legion, but there's some promise for the flexible zone scaling tech that we're using in Legion and how that could be applied to other parts of the world to, again, solve the pacing problem and let people potentially, imagine if a zone like Hillsbrad or Silverpine had a broader level range that it could apply to. You could level through that zone at your own pace without running out of story or getting ahead of where you were supposed to be in the plot.
Cool.
So it's something that we haven't paid enough attention to recently and that we need to pay more attention to. And that's, as I said, from a company-wide perspective, the discussion of legacy servers, pristine servers, what we want to do with that's sort of above my pay grade. That's kind of a different organizational level. But as the Warcraft development team focused on the live game of World of Warcraft, it definitely has shown a light on some deficiencies in areas where the game has been lacking recently, and that's something we want to do something about.
Great. Right. So this is one of those like, if you came for an answer from this man, he doesn't have the pay grade for it, but he's doing his best to get some awesome stuff in the game that's going to make everybody happy, or at least try to. It sounds like it.
Yes. Ultimately, we want the game to be something that we as developers are proud of at every level, not just level 100, not just level 110, but also level 27. It should be a fun, epic experience at level 27, and it isn't always right now.
Cool. There you go. All right.